Hey people, Death here, going through my emo phase. Today I'm going to be covering Asura's Wrath, a anime with lore accurate gameplay. This game is what you call a forgotten masterpiece, an underrated gem, which is not on PC, so you have to play it on an emulator. But still man, what a ride. Now, Asura's Wrath boss battles are supposed to be brawls. You're supposed to hit and get hit, not play perfectly. They're all spectacles. And you know what? I love this game's boss battles because of that. So you know what? Let's get into it. Or as my favorite superhero Morbius always says, it's Morbin time. Number 8, Ryu. Now first round Ryu is quite okay, like it's a new gimmick of fighting him in his world of Street Fighter. My first seeing him awed me, even though he's quite a bit easier than expected, and Akuma does what Ryu does, but better. Not only in the first Street Fighter verse phase, but also in the evil phase. And his evil Ryu phase, holy shit. This fight is literally brought down entirely by this one phase. Evil Ryu is generally one of the most unfair fights I have fought. Well, not in a long time, but in general. Like fuck, he has a super move with like little to no tell, which can be countered by QTEs and does like half your health, which in this game is a lot. I mean, I get it that it's a cool and Street Fighter like super move, but you should have at least given us a chance by either involving quick time events or QTEs. Well, that doesn't mean that there aren't good things in this fight. Like by the second phase of the Ryu fight, Ryu grows a conscience and starts recovering from your punches into the air attack. I mean, shit. Making the actual fight less brain dead, and also your special attacks is an ass blasting Ryu attack, and just the fact that it's Ryu makes it much more memorable. It's just that with balancing it could have been so much better. It really truly did not reach its complete potential in my opinion. Bad boy Asura, rebel phase. Asura has to be the most average boss out of all of them, but Asura's Wrath average is pretty fucking good. The fight itself can get quite boring, but the spectacle it has and the story aspect of both these characters kind of really push this boss a lot higher on a scale of quality. He has all of Asura's moves, but that's pretty much it. It's like fighting a shadow of yourself, but it's not like it's DMC or anything where your character has like a more billion moves. You don't have that many moves, and that makes this fight sort of very repetitive. The only move he got me with a lot is his rush attack, and that pretty much punishes you for being too aggressive, but it doesn't do enough damage for it to keep me off of him. The quick time events are pretty good. The music is better used in Yasha's fight, and I will also talk about the story of both these characters in that fight because I think that fight does it better. And that's pretty much it. It's an okay Asura's fight, but a good fight in general. I don't want to take too much time talking about these lower bosses which aren't really that amazing, because I will have to take a lot of time talking about bosses such as Chakravartin. So yeah. Now, for most people, I believe this one would be the bottom feeder, but I am considering all the encounters into one spot, and once we look at it that way, then we see that the boss is an all-rounder. Granted, it's not the best final boss, but that hole is filled by Chakravartin. In this fight, you and Yasha, just like anime, you guys turn into beams of red and blue light cut through a sentient space rock, and then initiate your fight with the first Vitra tentacle, which is pretty easy and repetitive, and it has like 2 attacks and takes way too long to die, but after you kill it in a badass way, all the tentacles get pissed and fire projectiles at you. And then Yasha and Asura, both of you, just punch the more billion projectiles coming your way, thus deflecting them. Then the tentacles shoot a laser beam at you, and then with the power of love and family, you guys fly through it, I guess. You wanna hear something good? I kind of fucked up the editing over here, so I'm just going to waste your time a little with my beautiful voice. I know this voice sucks, I'm working on it. Thank you for listening to me. After that, you fight 5 tentacles, which I lost the footage for. After that, you fight the core itself, which does really big laser attacks and also spams this fucking projectile. So after finally getting into the core of the planet, you get to fight the real boss, and that is the boring part. I would talk about it, but there's nothing really special here except in my first attempt I got very close and died because of bullshit, and in my second run I straight up dominated him, so they should have just let me win. It's kinda boring, but the entire fight is so epic that I just can't put it any lower than I have already put. The one thing I can remember from his first fight is how much of a pushover he was. Like, look at this, I'm playing with him like he was my fucking Barbie doll. It doesn't help how Yasha is also giving him the beating he deserves. Like shit, this guy was all high and mighty, like the divinity of pride, the leader of all the 7 deities, and now look at him. He's getting thrown around like a little bitch. Truly sad. And Olga is simping for this dude? Come on, man. Then we see Deus get upgraded with a shiny new pair of nunchucks. This time around, he gains a fuck ton of new attacks. Firstly, he pretty much spins his nunchucks to spawn lightning behind him, making him look like a badass, just taunting you. And now, whenever you get close, he got a basic combo which he can end in 3 ways. The first one where he spins his nunchucks around. The second one in which he ends with the slam attack. And the last one with a lightning movie. Almost all of his attacks have lightning after effects, like this really cool circular lightning attack. After he beats Asura up, you fight him as Yasha, and he gains one more move, this jump attack, which is pretty cool looking, but you fight him as Yasha, so you decimate his ass. After you beat him as Yasha, he creates this lightning aura by spinning his nunchucks around, which you two bros with a lot of strategy and diplomacy and tactics punch through like always. After that, Deus sucks off Asura's daughter. Powers, like what the hell do you think? She's a fucking child and a female, I think. So after that, Asura gets so pissed that after this, he does this. As you can imagine, Deus doesn't survive this, giving anybody enough reason to not fuck with Asura's daughter, except Chakravartin, I guess. We're gonna talk about it later. Akuma for me is the greatly improved version of Evil Ryu. His first fight in the Street Fighter universe isn't as easy and mindless because Akuma is much more aggressive and uses the spinning kick attack a lot, often to keep your brain alive. Evil Akuma pretty much fixes the problem of not being able to counter the super move, as this time around you can and fail, but at least this time around it was my fault, so I can take it like a man. And these super moves look awesome. Like, I won't even care if I fail. It's just I want to see them and hopefully have a chance at, not failing them at least once. So yeah. But the best part, very easily, is the ending. Like shit, Asura rams Akuma's fucking face onto the surface of the moon and then sends him flying. Then Akuma hits Asura so hard that he literally splits the moon into two. After that, you fight on the rocks in the middle of the moon, slowly approaching the core. Then you go and fight out into space, hug each other in space, and then very casually land on Earth, which does this. After that, they pretty much punch each other for 500 years. Literally turn into stone and then still keep on fighting until the end of the universe itself. Amen. I don't know why cowboy music, but I dig it. Now, the first phase is kinda mundane. He has all of Yasha's moves that's given, but he had this dash attack and its still is this pose, which is pretty cool. The second phase, however, wow, this shit is lit. This shit is sky high. You guys are fighting while free falling, and they decided to introduce new mechanics just for this one fight. It's seriously so cool how you two shoot each other while falling and then get close to each other to lay a beat down. I love how when he's knocked down, he just starts falling and then you punch him so hard that he regains his consciousness. It's definitely a fight you just gotta experience. Afterwards, they start fighting in these dark clouds, and when you get out of there, you just realize how truly high up the fucking tower really was. Even though you could have fought Yasha for hours and still not reach the surface, because anime logic. When you do land, you gotta fight L2 Burst Yasha, who's faster and cooler, but obviously not stronger. And in this phase, his soundtrack also goes all out. This man seriously pulls out his knockdown attacks. That's what I like to call them, because you press triangle, the boss is knocked down, and then yeah. Then the fight ends with one of my favorite cutscenes of the game, which there are many, but still, have a look. So after giving you the best time of your life, August decides to beat the shit out of you. And look at that beautiful red asteroid field. Like, what the hell happened here? A plague or something? I don't know, but it gives this place a lot of personality. And look at this music. Why are we fighting on the fucking moon? No one knows, but it's amazing. Like shit, whoever actually wrote this song and composed it would have never thought that this would be used like this. But it fits perfectly. August himself is a great character. He lives by the philosophy of eat, sleep, fuck, fight, repeat. Even though I disagree with it, but I will still admit that what a way to live, man. He was pretty much the only character who did not underestimate Asura, which was VIDS, and also his Japanese voice actor.
この地であれば邪魔する者など誰一人おらぬ。さあ竹に来るぞ。
Now the first phase is great, but there isn't actually a lot to talk about here. The most cool and memorable part about this phase was his fire uppercut attack. The fight almost completely changes when he pulls out his sword and starts doing these projectile attacks, and it's such a good idea as it forces you to dodge, not only to look cool, but if you get hit by it, you get thrown back, which keeps August away from you and does not let you have your way. The only real way to punish him is to wait for his really long winded up slash attack, and after that you can get some hits, and he does that 2 or 3 times as well, so you should try to be patient, unlike me. August is easily the toughest boss of the game, and I'm not particularly proud of how I fought him. Hell, I wanted him to kill me so I could fight him again much better next time. That's how good this boss fight is. He also has this really cool, really big overhead slash attack which you can counter. If you don't, you'll get really heavily punished. By the halfway point, he starts dashing around while doing his projectile attacks, which is a pretty genius way of making the fight more dynamic and difficult, and also a lot more cooler. This fight forces you to be patient and look for openings, which is something that only August and Chakravarti in the entire game, which is a pretty big deal in this game. And if you thought that I was talking about the best parts about the fight, till now you've not seen anything. This guy extends his sword, impales Asura, pushes him from the moon to Gaia, and look at those fucking visuals, man. So after that, August very casually impales the fucking world. After that, Asura punches August's sword, breaking the sword and his hand, then catches it with his mouth and guts August with the sword, which isn't that mind-blowing considering what he does afterwards with that sword. But man, what an amazing conclusion to an amazing fight. Okay, now before we talk about the reason why Bison is so high up, let's talk about the rest of the fight, and it's pretty good. His first phase is quite an average humanoid boss, nothing interesting to talk about, but then he grows into the size of a fucking building and gives us this epic panel, easily one of my favorites in the game. Then he throws you like a kilometer away, so you shoot and dodge, jump on some rocks, fail cause you couldn't mash the X button, do it all over again, fly up in the air, punch his face, get ass blasted, and then shut him up again, while he boasts about his thick, juicy ass. Afterwards, Asura takes down a ship, which is as easy as taking a shit for Asura. Then you both start running in the same direction, jumping and falling. Then you grab his finger and throw him, have a clash in which you obviously win, and then throw him into space. After that, one of the most iconic moments in all of gaming, in my opinion, occurs. He turns as big as Gaia, the planet you're on, and then crushes you with his finger. But this is Asura's wrath, so this happens. Well, that was sudden. Numero uno, Chakravartin. There is so much to talk about here, but if I talk about everything this guy is and can do, we would be here for another 10 minutes. So, I'd like to focus my attention on the final battle. But before that, how can I not mention the space battle? So, do you remember how Wizen turned into the size of Gaia and was like an iconic moment? Well, Asura turns into the size of Gaia and seems just as small as he would fighting Wizen at normal size. This dude, how big is he? Dick joke. I regret saying that with all my being. Like, this guy is really that big that he's fucking playing with planets like toys. This fight is just one of the biggest and greatest spectacles in any genre of any medium ever. Fight me. Even God of War fights look like children playing in the park compared to this. Just imagine how good this will look with new gen graphics. Asura's Wrath remake will break the internet. Trust me, we need it. Extend on, sure. Not everything needs to end in a fight. It can also end in a diplomatic fashion. Oh wait. Why did I forget? This is Asura's Wrath. There are no diplomatic conclusions to fights. I don't know which phase this is, so I'll say second to last. It's kinda like your first encounter with Chakravartin, but with a lot more moves and a cooler arena. If it was just this fight which acted as the final act, Chakravartin would still be number one because of the godlike space phase, of which there are of two kind. Like, this is an anime battle spanning so many different encounters that it's hard to talk about it in summary, so I'd just like to talk about the finale. This phase is just so surreal yet beautiful, so alien yet enthralling. The music, the arena, the design of the boss, his attacks, they're just so different from what we've seen before in this game. It almost feels like you're fighting a god, that you're fighting the one who created everything. The soundtrack that you're hearing in the background right now is my favorite in the entire game, and it deserves to be there. My favorite part is this. It's so cool and fitting, just like this game's low accurate gameplay. This has to be the best mechanical fight of the game. Like, all of his moves can be dodged and countered or even shot down, which is something I did not know because I did not know that that was even possible. I pretty much saw this attack on Reddit one day and I was like, I need to find out the history behind this attack. And you know what? It was totally worth it. My favorite part of the fight was the quick time event battle. It feels like to me that Chakravartin basically invaded my game and started using my methods to survive. I don't know, I get this feeling. But considering how big QTEs are, like half the game is just cutscenes and QTEs in the... So it's just so perfect that they use the QTEs like this for Chakravartin's swan song basically. Chakravartin is one of the best bosses I have ever fought, and the ending to the fight is just so beautiful. Have a look.
を倒してしまえば全てのマントラも失われてしまう。そしたら
だがお前がいる。
I didn't cry. I did not. But for line 2 and this straight up 10 out of 10 battle and this straight up 10 out of 10 game. What an utter masterpiece. That's it for this video. It became way longer than I thought it was going to be, but I guess I had to give each boss a lot of time to appreciate them. If you still, for some reason, haven't played this game, use an emulator like me. If this game gets enough support and enough people play it, we may get something along the lines of a remake or even a sequel maybe. So yeah, like and sub, and I'll see you guys later.
尽きた。